Hi, me again. Last year in 2023, I made 3 videos where I ranked all of the albums, movies, and games which I consumed that year. So I'm going to do it again. Here are all the games that I played in 2024 ranked from worst to best. Honorable mentions: Baldur's Gate 3 and Metaphor ReFantatio. I started playing these games this year, but I didn't get very far into them, so I decided I'd wait until next year to finish them and add them to that list, I guess. Another mention goes to Shadow of the Erdtree, the Elden Ring DLC. Now, I played a lot of that, and I think it's absolutely phenomenal. However, I don't think it's fair to rank that amongst the other games that I played this year, because it's not a standalone game. Anyway, on with the list. Number 8 is Resident Evil 8. I actually didn't finish this game this year either, and honestly, I don't plan to finish this game. It's just not as good as Resident Evil 7, and it was just really slow and I wasn't really into it. I only played like 2 hours. If I'm not really into it 2 hours in, then I don't think I'm going to be super into it 5 hours in. Or maybe I would have been, but I guess we'll never know. At number 7 is a game called Squirrel Stapler. This is a delightful little indie game where you go around hunting squirrels and staple their corpses to the rotting body of your dead wife. This honestly wasn't that great of a game, but if you like really creepy, weird PS1 style horror games, then you know what? Maybe you'll like this. I also played this game in a room full of friends, which made it a lot more entertaining. Number 6, Dave the Diver. You play a diver called Dave who dives for fish during the day and at night works at a sushi bar. It's funny, it's simple, it's addictive. I wasn't that big into the diving part of the game, but I was way into the sushi restaurant part. I don't know why, I just found that part of the game a bit more fun. Number 5, Dredge. You play a little fisherman in a little fishing boat who arrives at a little village on a little island. The more you fish, the more you realize that maybe there's something not quite right here. A lot of the fish have been mutated or corrupted. When it gets to night, you see some really creepy stuff. It's a pretty short game. I got quite into the whole collecting every sort of fish and every possible mutation of the fish to tick them off in my Pokedex. This game creeped me out a little bit because I don't really like open water, and it kept making me jump whenever a Leviathan will just pop up out of nowhere and try to eat my little fishing boat. Number 4, Tunic. It's like Zelda, except you're a cute little fox. You fight enemies, you explore the environment, and you solve puzzles. It's one of those games where you're pretty much given access to everything immediately, but you're not told what to do or how to do things, and the game will slowly let you know the more and more you play. There are things at the start which you can access to make the game incredibly easy, but they're hidden in plain sight. And I gotta talk about the puzzles. If this was a ranking of puzzle quality in the games I played, this game would be number 1 by a long shot. Like, I had to break out the pen and paper just to solve some of these puzzles, man. Oh, it was so good. Number 3, Persona 3 Reload. If you like teenagers fighting darkness and saving the world with the power of friendship, well, gosh dang, this is the game for you. Yeah, it's pretty much that. Half the game is a slice of life kind of thing where you go around strengthening your friendships with everyone and working at a coffee shop and eating noodles, which increases your bravery or something. On the other half of the game, you go into the Shadow Realm and you fight these evil shadows, and it's just a lot of fun. I feel like both sides kind of need each other. They complement each other really well. Aside from that, it's an incredibly stylish game, really good music, lovely art style, and honestly, the storyline's kind of a bit dark. It's darker than what I expected. I did feel like the game went on a little bit too long for my liking, but maybe that's just me. Maybe a lot of you would think it's not long enough. Number 2, Armored Core 6. If you're a fan of From Software games, then I implore you to try this one. You're a mercenary in a mech, and you do missions for corporations who are trying to lay claim to this planet in order to harvest its natural resources. It's a From Software game, so the gameplay is really tight and the bosses are incredible. In fact, I'd argue the majority of the things in this game are incredible. The gameplay, the world building, the sound, the environments, and it's got one of those stories that you kind of understand, but then you watch a 6-hour-long YouTube video about it, and then you realize you had no idea how deep this is. But one of the biggest reasons I would recommend it to fans of From Software games is because it is so different to the other From Software games like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, or Sekiro. In those games, you're pretty much always a dude with a stick or a stick-like object, and once you've kind of figured out the formula on how to fight bosses in one of the games, you can pretty much transfer that knowledge across to the rest of them. In Armored Core 6, you have to learn a completely new set of mechanics and try a bunch of new tactics in order to fight these bosses. The last time I got this much satisfaction from beating a boss was when I first played Dark Souls. And if that isn't a ringing endorsement, then I don't know what is. Number 1, my favorite game that I played this year is Silent Hill 2 Remake. You play a guy called James Sunderland who goes to Silent Hill because he got a letter from his dead wife saying that she's waiting for him there. On the surface, it seems like a standard horror setup. Regular bloke gets into trouble with the spooky locals for going around places and touching things he's not supposed to. But it's so much more than that. It's a story about grief, guilt, self-discovery. For example, you might think you're exploring these abandoned apartment buildings because it looks spooky, but it's tied to deeper meaning. It might seem like the spooky locals only look like that because it's scary, but it's tied to deeper meaning. More or less everything in this game is a metaphor which relates to James's character. But what I think elevates this game above all the others that I played this year is the atmosphere. The fog shrouds everything in the town, which adds a physical sense of ambiguity and mystery, which goes hand in hand with the story. And the sound complements this by not having music playing while you're exploring constantly. And the sound complements this by not constantly having music playing while you're exploring. Instead, you're accompanied by creepy, uneasy ambient sounds, broken up occasionally by jarring static on your radio when there's an enemy nearby. And the details in the environment too, like some of the buildings are completely run down, covered in blood, broken furniture, graffiti. And then there's also some buildings which look like they haven't been touched, where it just looks like the people have disappeared. There's like pizza left on the table. There's drinks still in glasses in a bar. And on the rare occasion that you might run into another living person, the things they say and how they say things just don't seem quite right. Everything in this game works to make you feel uncomfortable and uneasy, and it does a fantastic job. Maybe you think I'm being over the top. Maybe you don't think I'm being over the top enough. Feel free to message me and we can talk about this list and whatever games that you played and enjoyed. Anyway, that's it. Bye. Hi, me again. In 2023, I made 3 videos where I ranked all the albums, movies, and games that I consumed in that year from worst to best. I've decided to do this again, but last year I watched 52 new films. This year, I watched 12. Let's get into the list. First of all, big shout out, honorable mention to the Lord of the Rings Extended Edition. I had never seen them before, and I was waiting for the right opportunity to watch them. And I didn't just want to watch them on my laptop at home. But it turns out one of the cinemas near me was showing all 3 films extended back to back to back. It was incredible. It was the films that I loved, but more of them. I can't justify putting them on this list because they're not like standalone new films. I'd seen the vast majority of them all, but yeah, it's just outstanding. If you can watch them in the cinemas, please go and do that. It was absolutely outstanding. Number 12, Deadpool 2. I laughed once, and that was Brad Pitt's incredibly brief cameo. Didn't even crack a smile at the rest of the film. Number 11, Five Nights at Freddy's. Why does this film exist? It was fun, it was stupid. It was fun in a dumb, stupid kind of way. I expected nothing going in, and I was pleasantly surprised. I actually had a lot of fun watching it, but I suspect it was because I was watching it with my friend and he was very drunk and having a really good time. Number 10, Dune 2. Yeah, it was fine, but a large chunk of the film, they're speaking the made-up Fremen language, and I saw this in a cinema in Beijing, and they didn't have English subtitles for the made-up language part. So I had no idea what they were talking about for like a good quarter, maybe even a third of the film. Also, I was sat at the very front of an IMAX screen, which made the close-ups really, really funny, and I couldn't take them seriously at all. Number 9, Dune 1984. This was wild. Like, the modern Dune films, they feel like kind of padded, but this film, it felt like too much was cut from it. It felt like it was in a rush. It had mad pacing issues, and then the film just like ends out of nowhere. Number 8, Fire Walk With Me. I watched Twin Peaks for the first time this year, and it was absolutely fantastic. It's incredible. This film, however, It was good, it was fine, but it feels like it took a bit of like a step backwards for me. Like, imagine you've just watched an incredible, outstanding TV show, and then it leaves you on one of the best cliffhangers ever. Then you hear that there's a film afterwards, and you get so excited, hoping to see some sort of resolution or continuation of the story. But instead of that, it's just like a really long flashback. It's still got some really good bits, but I don't know, like the production's really good and the performances are fantastic. I don't know, maybe I just had certain expectations going in and they were not met at all. Number 7, Transformers 1. It was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I think animation is a way forward instead of live action in the current Transformers cinematic universe. I liked Brian Tyree Henry's Megatron, but Chris Hemsworth, it just sounded like he was doing an Optimus Prime impression the whole time. Which I get, but I don't know. I think it would have been cool to hear like an original take on Optimus Prime's voice or like a fresh spin on it or something. Number 6, Alien Romulus. Romulus? Yeah, Alien Romulus. I had fun with this. What can I say? I like the alien formula. A group of unsuspecting people happen upon some mysterious eggs and hilarity ensues. But I think this makes just too many references to the original Alien films in like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of way. Like, do you get it? He said the thing that Ripley said in the thing. Do you get it? He said, I think the production was solid. Like, I think they used a lot of practical effects and stuff, which really like elevated it for me. Which is funny I say that because the film also does that thing where they CGI a dead actor to reprise their old role in the films. And like, they really didn't need to have this character. Like, it could have just been another random person. And I don't know, it just detracted from the whole film. Yeah. Number 5, Deadpool and Wolverine. This was so much more fun than the other Deadpool films, and it felt the most like a Deadpool comic out of all of them. And talking about expectations, again, I ranked Deadpool 2 as the worst film that I'd seen this year, and I'm not the biggest fan of Deadpool 1. Maybe I had a really low bar going in, and this film just like exceeded all of my expectations for it, really. I don't know what happened. Was it written by someone new, or was it just because they had more budget, or I don't know, what was different in the production of this film? I need to know. For me, the humor landed a lot more, and I really enjoyed the meta commentary, and I loved the surprises. Number 4, Millennium Actress. Satoshi Kon is one of my favorite directors of all time, so I was bound to really enjoy this. The film's about these documentary makers interviewing this legendary actress about her career. It's quite a sweet and simple story, but it's executed so well. I love the way the director bends reality with the storytelling. It's probably my least favorite of his films, but it's still really good, and I recommend it to anyone. Number 3, The Iron Claw. Okay, I know you guys know how much I like professional wrestling, but this is a really good film, I swear. The film is about the tragedy of the Von Erichs, who were a family of wrestlers in the 70s and 80s, and the emotional cost of their success and the rise to the top of the wrestling world. The performances in this film are outstanding, especially the dad. It's a really emotional film. Go check it out. Number 2, Substance. This film is so good. You know how in horror films there's a very thin line. On one side of it is like campy and the other side is like creepy horror? Well, this film is exactly in the middle. So half of it is campy fun, and the other half is creepy disgusting in a good way. I'm so glad I got to see it in the cinema, because to be in that room full of people simultaneously going from laughter to wincing was just so great. It was such a great experience. The film criticizes society's approach towards beauty and youth in women, and it has some really thought-provoking and relatable sequences, but I can see how a lot of the body horror can put some people off. Again, just still give it a go. Actually, maybe don't give it a go if you're really squeamish about that kind of stuff. And number 1, my favorite film, which I saw in 2024, is Annihilation. This film is so good. It blends horror, existentialism, and sci-fi together really, really well, I think. The film is about a group of scientists who go to investigate an area of land which is being mutated due to a meteorite impact, and the mutation is spreading. It's got great themes, atmosphere, visuals, sound, performances. The landscapes are so eerie and still in like a beautiful, unsettling way, in contrast with the creatures, which are morphed and mutated and disgusting in like a horrifying, sad way. And the film doesn't spoon-feed you. It leaves a lot of stuff up to interpretation, and it leaves things ambiguous on purpose. I guess I just like creepy, bizarre, psychological stuff, okay? Maybe you think I'm being over the top. Maybe you don't think I'm being over the top enough? Let me know. Message me and we can talk about this. Okay, that's it. Bye. Hi, me again. Last year in 2023, I made 3 videos where I ranked all of the albums, the films, and the games that I consumed that year. So I'm doing it again. Last year, however, I listened to 52 new albums, and this year I only listened to 28. Honestly, I left this video a bit late and I couldn't be bothered to write about all of the albums I listened to, so I'm just gonna do the top 10. Here are all the albums that I listened to, which are outside of the top 10. I will give one shout out though to Pinkerton by Weezer. That was the worst album I listened to this year. It sucked. Don't listen to it. Anyway, let's get going. At number 10, we have
Ambient 1, Music for Airports.
By Brian Eno. I know I'm starting the list off with an ambient album. I just think it sounds really good. Brian Eno knows what he's doing, apparently. I think it just takes a lot to do ambient music really well because I feel it simultaneously needs to be simple and easy enough to listen to put on as like background music. It also needs to be complex enough so that when you do actively listen to it, you can understand it and feel emotion and all that good stuff. Coming in at number 9 is Source by Nubia Garcia. Nubia Garcia is an incredibly talented saxophonist. It's a great blend of jazz and Afro-Caribbean influences. Soulful, and it's really energetic at the same time. Number 8 goes to Drunk by Thundercat. It's a Thundercat album, okay? So you know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get phenomenal bass lines. You've got the weird high-pitched singing that he does. You've got the funk. You've got the really weird just arrangement of tracks. It's really good. It's a very entertaining album. At number 7 is Tyler, the Creator's Chromacopia. I like it when Tyler goes deep and goes kind of like personal, like when he raps about his sexuality, his daddy issues, and how being a world famous superstar has just like affected him mentally. I don't think I like this album as much as Igor, but it's still really, really good, and I highly recommend it. Sliding in at number 6, we have Osric Tentacles with Jurassic Shift. This is it's just it's a really interesting album. It's like psychedelic and like it merges genres and stuff. And they do it so well. It just has a really unique sound, and I don't think I've really heard much like this before. It's really good. I really like it. I feel like a lot of these things, it's just hard for me to put into words. Really, I'm struggling to put into words why I like this and why I like a lot of these albums. So you have to take my word for it. And number 5, it is Metaphorical Music by Nujabes. I really, really like Nujabes, and this is the first time I've listened to this album fully. Nujabes is kind of considered like the godfather of lo-fi hip-hop kind of style beats to do your homework to. Basically a whole album of that. Some of these tracks have like rap in it. It's a great fusion. It's a great combination of jazz and hip hop. It's a great album to just put on in the background while you're doing things, or like to just like chat with people, or just anywhere really. I'd listen to it in the car if you want. Number 4 is
Homogenic
by Bjork. Bjork is truly a pioneer of electronic music. You can listen to this and think the album came out like 5-10 years ago, but this came out in 1997. Like, this sounds, it just feels so modern. Her weird, like, trippy vocals and like the production and the beats and the synth. Number 3 is 94 Discount by Oval. It takes these glitchy, fragmented sounds and makes them into something beautiful and like hypnotic almost. It's experimental. It's also really ambient, and I like ambient music. I don't know, something about it. I feel like I resonate with this album a lot, and I'm trying not to sound like super hipster or whatever. But I mean, hey, I've put this glitchy ambient album at number 3 and all the albums I listened to this year, so whatever. The runner-up, number 2, is The Mouse and the Mask by MF Doom. It's a collaboration between MF Doom and Danger Mouse. It's a fun, witty, strange, cartoonish album. There's a couple of tracks that I've not been able to get out of my head this year at all, but it's really, really good. If you like Doom, if you like cartoons, if you like Aqua Teen Hunger Force, then check this album out. And finally, at number 1, it's Kendrick Lamar with GNX. I think the last time Kendrick was this aggressive on an album would have been Good Kid, Mad City. Like he's going hard. He's angry. He's pissed off. But at the same time, in the classic Kendrick way, also very like introspective and reflective about things. And he tackles like personal things on like this really grand level and puts himself out there. And I love Kendrick for that. Some of these tracks are fantastic. Reincarnated, Squabble Up, TV Off. A lot, you know what? All of these tracks, I really like the like Luther and Gloria as well. Like, I just like them all. They're all good. Some of them are a bit different than others. I don't know what else there is really to say about it. It's peak Kendrick. It's him at his best, being aggressive, attacking, and it's really visceral. It's really, really good. Maybe you think I'm being over the top. Maybe you don't think I'm being over the top enough. Feel free to message me and we'll talk about music. That's it. Bye.